Hello and welcome to the complete course of AWS SageMaker. In this particular session, we'll see how to we train the model into a SageMaker. So first of all, we will use a Python SDK library, that is Botto3, so that we can talk to the different component of a SageMaker, right? So first we'll execute this. After that, similarly, the way we did it in a linear regression, similarly we need to first define the bucket name, train file, test, validation, and the model folder name, wherein we will save all our models, right? So it is a similar steps. So here we have defined it. Now we will put all these positions so that my bucket name, so it will come into that format what SageMaker looks for, S3, then bucket name, and then my location. Similarly, we'll do it for model output, train, test, and validation dataset, right? And if I'll click, it will see the S3 model would be S3 EC2 East SageMaker Logistic Regression Model. And now what are we going to do it? We are uploading this training data set and a test data set into an S3 bucket, right? So how do we do it? First of all, we'll create a Botto3 session. In Botto3 session, we'll see we need to talk to S3 resource from SageMaker. So we'll tell, okay, this is an S3 resource. Now in S3 resource, the first entry point would be the bucket name. So now this is the bucket name on which we need to direct or communicate with. And then this is a location train file. So if you'll see over here, this is a train file which we need to work on. So this is a train file, and in this particular location we need to save this particular file. So this file needs to be uploaded in this particular location. So same thing we can do it for train and test. Now it's a time to build and train the data set. So similarly, first of all, we need to import a SageMaker. We need to define an IAM role. So we need to import the get execution role function. And once that is done, the next step is to create a SageMaker session and define the role. Once that is done, we also need to know the region name from which we need to take the image of a logistic regression. Now we need to define the image name, which consists of account number, which consists of the region name and the image name and the tag. The combination of this will give that, okay, this particular image needs to be downloaded from this particular region. So that is what this particular code does it. So from sagemaker.amazon, it will take a Amazon estimator, then get image URI from where we need to take a image. From this particular region, we have linear learner and the latest one, right? Once that is done, we will define a logistic regression wherein we need to define this Docker image name and the role, whether this particular role is having an access of an ECR or not, then the number of instance count, the type of instance, the output path where my model will get saved, the SageMaker session, and the job name of this particular model. Now we need to set an hyperparameter. There are a lot of hyperparameter. However, the most important parameter is the predict type. This predict type will tell, because the linear learner would be used for the regression as well as the classification. In a last lecture we have seen that we have used the regressor over here. So the compiler will come to know, okay, now we need to execute a regression model. Now if we see the binary classifier, we need to tell the predictor that we need to do a binary classification. If we have a multi-class classification, then we need to define a multi-class classifier. And you can also locate it into a AWS documents wherein all the hyperparameters values are been given over there. So you can play it with a hyperparameter tuning. Now once that is done, the mini batch you need to define how many iteration it will get executed, and then set this hyperparameter, and by using this you can see what all the hyperparameter is been set. Now we need to take a data and which we need to train on, right? So the data we can take it from the SageMaker session 3 SageMaker session, the S3 input. The data location is S3 train, and the content type of a data is text CSV. Now we will do the model fit, and this model fit will help you out to do the training. So here if you see, I'll just go down. So here there are few things that we need to. So first of all, it will start the training job, then it will launch the instance, ML instance on which my model needs to be trained. Once that is done, it will download the input data, and then it will download the algorithm, which is in the form of a Docker in a ECR, and then it will train the data set. Now the final matrix it will show over here is, if you'll see here, we have a precision, we have a recall, we have an ROC, right? Train score. Similarly, if we go down, we can see the train ROC is this one. Now here the one thing what we have not done it, if we want to give the validation data set, we can also give the validation data set by using a comma, a validation, and the we need to also do the validation configuration the way we have done it at train. So that is why in this only the training configuration is there, training matrix is there, we don't have a validation matrix, but it can be done in that way. So that is the way we need to develop the model, and once the model is been built, the final is to deploy the model. In the deploy model, the model which we have done the training, so the model name dot deploy, at which particular instance, whether you want to create a cluster out of it or you only want to create only one model, so that is the instance type. So here we are only deployed it once, and then the instance type is what kind of resources you want, the RAM, CPU. So here you can go to the AWS documentation and see there are various form of computation instance type available over there. If it is a deep learning, you can use the more extensive resource instance type, and the endpoint name. From this endpoint name is very important, because from this itself we will do the prediction. So that is how we will do the training. We have done the deployment, and once the deployment is done in a similar way, the way we have done the inferences, you can go to the inference lecture, wherein we have done the prediction of the model which has been deployed in an endpoint. So that's all as of now, and then we'll go ahead in the next lecture to learn more about SageMaker. Thank you.